think of the name of your business and the name of your community, the Reconnected. And to me, there's so much in that name. You're all about connection and about coming back to connection. And I think you had that before you started that business, that was part of who you are. And you just brought that to this business and you found your tribe, and they are hungry for that connection. I think we all are, frankly. They're hungry for that connection, and you bring them in, and you obviously do an amazing job of serving them in that way. Tell us about your community or that name. Where does that name come from, and how did you start, and how did you end up there?
We were just talking about this yesterday because Eleanor reminded me the first time we met face to face, because Eleanor and I actually started the idea of the Reconnected with a program, our main program, Reconnected Parenting. And we started it just by emailing each other, or we were on Messenger on Facebook. We hadn't really ever hung out in person before. We were from the same area. We knew of each other. We had similar friends, but we hadn't really ever deeply connected. And Eleanor had the idea for this parenting program. I already had a established Instagram. It was just my personal page, but it had done well. And she reached out to me and said, I've got this idea. I know you're into breath work. I had learnt some of the play therapy model that she teaches. And she said, do you want to do this? And we were like, okay. And we started to get this program on the way. And we met for the first time when we finally were in the same place. And we were talking about, what do we call this thing? What do we call this thing? And my partner, who's just very intuitive, was like, what about reconnected parenting? And we were like, okay, let's do it. We didn't really put much thought other than that into it. We were just like, all right, let's do it, because we've got to launch this thing. So we'll just call it Reconnected Parenting. And it's funny now because it ended up branching into the Reconnected, because we started to create more. The more success that we had, the more people wanted to be taught from us. So we needed to have more of an umbrella name, and it became the Reconnected. And I think it's so beautiful now because I think about what we're actually doing. At the helm of the Reconnected is breathwork. And breathwork is about reconnecting with the truth of who you really are underneath those layers of stress and conditioning that you have created over your entire life. And whilst we didn't consciously think about that when we first named it, it's what it evolved into, and it's essentially exactly what's going on. The people that are in our community are people who want to do things differently. You know, they have this desire to have a life that is inspiring, connected. They want to feel in touch with their spirituality. They want to hang out in spaces where people are talking about things, about connection, about conscious parenting. They want authenticity. They want to hear from parents who are struggling and thriving. They want to hear it all. So we attract that type of person. And, you know, one of the craziest things that Eleanor and I constantly remind everyone when we're in launch or we're talking to new people is we have never had to moderate our community and kick anyone out.
Not once. Not on Instagram, not in our app, not on anything ever. Not one negative comment towards another community member once. Isn't that insane?
5 years we have not had
not one time at all.
I think we do really well at setting up that framework. When people come into our free program, a lot of our existing community members, even though they know, hey, Emma and Eleanor are just about to open the doors for the program we've already paid for, they come. It's incredible. And they are in the comments and they show what type of frequency we're working at. They're very supportive. They pump everyone up. They tell everyone how amazing that we are. They tell everyone how amazing the program is. And so it just is like attracts like, and it just keeps growing like that. And I think people feel so held, not only by us, our incredible coaches, our incredible admin team, but also our incredible OG community. We call them OGs because they're like our original people.
Can I add something to that? Do you know what else? We don't have explicitly written down community guidelines. So get this right. When I used to work as a counselor, and once we had government funding, and then there was this day where the government, our funding body had given us all these signs that we had to put up around the counseling center. Things like, you will be respected here. We don't judge you. And I was like, hell no, I'm not putting those things on the wall. That is the most patronizing, talk down to thing. Like, if I have to put a sign on the wall that I'm going to respect someone, then I'm clearly not embodying some very basic human to human relating. And it hadn't never occurred to me that we don't have community guidelines until we were just talking right now. It's the same thing. It's like, we don't need community guidelines because we're walking the talk all the time. We do invest. I think our major investment in business is our coaching team. And we have a lot of support inside of our app and on our social media. And they're staffed by people who are trained in breath work. They are incredibly sensitive, self-aware people, and we're always aiming to just cultivate this sense of, we want people to feel seen, heard, valued, understood all the time, anytime that they come anywhere near the Reconnected anything, doesn't matter what channel they come to us through. And then I think because people do feel so satiated, the amount of overflow from our community to other people in the community just sets this incredible tone. So even when someone feels upset or has an issue or feels upset by us, for example, sometimes when we're in a free launch, we might have 50,000 new people come into our community just like that in a course of a couple of weeks, because we're doing a launch, and you would think that possibly that many people would drown out the strength of the existing community. But actually what happens is sometimes people will say things like, hang on, I didn't know you guys were just going to sell me something. Someone new will say something like this, maybe. And then there'll be 20 Reconnected members who will say, we don't want you to feel like that. That's not how it is. Just stick around. You'll get to know how genuine they are, rah, rah, rah. Or, could even, because we're all about self-awareness, could that be something that's just coming up for you? A fear, a this, a that, you know what I mean? So our community are just there, I don't know, so invested as well in other people in the community's transformation, self-awareness, self-growth. That's why it feels like, even though it wasn't our conscious intention to create what feels like a movement, it really does feel like Reconnected Parenting and the Reconnected has become just this community of people who are so passionate about everything that we do, equally as passionate as we are in a lot of ways. It's amazing.
That is incredible. Yeah. To not even have community guidelines, but to have your community in some way policing itself. I don't like the word policing, but you know what I mean, right? Like they're commenting and creating their own standards. And because great community, it always feels like there's a bit of that coming from the leadership, right? This is what we are, what we expect. And then the other side of it is eventually when you get that community going, it does it for itself. You create these pockets of leaders or coaches that go out and do that. Was there something along, I know we're kind of reflecting back now, but is there something along the journey where you really noticed that, wow, we've got leaders in this community that are doing this for us? And was there anything that you did to foster that or to encourage that in some way?
I think we're always talking to our customers community. We're always expressing kind of what we get into that conversation where we talk about what's coming up, what we're going to be doing. And I think just with the principles of what we're teaching inside the course, people are really flying with it. They love to be in that type of energy. It's very different. If you go on YouTube and you look at the comments, it's terrifying being in there. And then if you come into our app and you look at the comments, people are like, well, I want to be around this. I want to be in this. So it just kind of naturally happened.
Hey, Launch family, one more thing before you go. There's a few spots left in Jeff's Launch Intensive workshop. This is a live in-person training with Jeff, Dan, and Justin in the room. Only 40 people are going to be there. Small, intimate, and super, super powerful. If you'd like to check that out, all you have to do is go to getyouLaunched.com today. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.